The Fourth Doctor Adventures Series 13 has begun with Storm of the Sea Devils, which also means that it has now been 10 whole years, over 10 whole years, since Series 3 of the Fourth Doctor Adventures began with the King of Sontar. And this is a rather special series and a special year for both of us. The series for me in particular, because it was my first Big Finish purchase. The subscription to Series 3, all 8 of those stories, with King of Sontar being the very first. 2014 was also the year you got into Big Finish as well, Ben, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and so this is a nice little throwback for us to do to tie into this new series, The Fourth Doctor Adventures.
And season 15 on Blu-ray with Invasion of Time, and obviously Big Finish is celebrating, 50 years of a Sontarans. So we've done a few Sontaran reviews this year. I say a few.
And we've done the Sontarans versus Rutans, and we've also done the Sontarans, the First Doctor story about the Doctor's first encounter with said alien race. How many times do you think we're going to say Sontarans in this review?
Oh, I think we'll say a fair few times. But the main Sontaran Strang,
Yeah, he's the one we're going to be talking about in particular, played by Dan Starkey. He is the King of Sontar in the title, or would be King of Sontar, because he's not your ordinary Sontaran. So the premise for this story is that he's a little bit different, isn't it?
Yes, he is essentially a whole battalion of Sontarans all in one. He's like a 7-foot massive Sontaran.
The way I like to see it is, if you make a batch of cupcakes, you're using the same mixture, you're pouring them in, and they all come out a little bit different, don't they? They all rise a bit differently depending on where they are in the oven, how much of the mixture you actually got in, just random things, air bubbles and such. And so, while it is the same ingredients, they all look a bit different. That's why Sontarans, same DNA, look a bit different. That's the way I like to see it. This is, instead of pouring the batter into, different cupcake holders, it's just all gone into one tin. That's what Strang is. He's the ultimate cupcake.
He is, but he's a defective cupcake, isn't he? Because he's wishing to take control of the universe.
Yeah. He's gone a bit rogue. He's got a bit above his station, really. He's not that fond of Sontaran High Command. He thinks he can do a bit of a better job, and so wants to make more like him, really, the ultimate Sontaran race. And yeah, that's where the Doctor and Leela are thrown into this two-part story set on Dokra Base, where a squad of Sontaran executioners has arrived.
Assassination squad.
Yeah, they're there to take out Strang. Evidently, things don't quite go to plan there. The Doctor and Leela are caught up in Strang's
Well, they get
plan.
sent, don't they, by the Time Lords on little errands. So it's very classic sort of start of Brain and Morbius, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very fitting for this era of the Fourth Doctor. We're sort of still Hinchcliffian here, aren't we?
Yes.
With this series. This is pre-K9 at the very least. And so, it's taking a leaf out of, like you say, Brain and Morbius, Genesis of the Daleks in particular, actually, where this one goes. And it does very much start a nice arc for the Fourth Doctor and Leela's friendship there. Teacher-pupil dynamic there.
Well, this is the first...
throws it into turmoil a bit.
Yeah, this is the first season where it is essentially written for, the Fourth Doctor and Leela. The first series was, Sarah Jane, but...
or originally planned.
Originally planned to be Sarah Jane. But this is the first series where we really get to explore that dynamic. Obviously, Louise Jameson did plenty of Big Finish on with Gallifrey, but now it's her time with her Doctor, and we finally get to see more of that because, Classic Who ignored, character drama and focused on story, which, is not a bad thing. Whereas now
it's like
we
a
get to
different
enjoy.
stroke.
Yeah,
you get best of both worlds with this, don't you?
Yes, you do.
Because it is a strong story in its own right, a very strong story. But on top of that, well, I mean, I say on top of that as if, it isn't baked into the very. We're going on to baking again.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm
it
just
seems like
hungry.
yeah. Been watching too
It's
much
very much
Bake
in the
Off.
DNA of the story that, the dynamics between these characters, their relationship, and throughout the whole series, it's beautifully explored because it's something that, Big Finish had done very well up to this point with so many different characters, really exploring them and fleshing them out a lot more. And so here, now that they've got Tom Baker still relatively fresh and new to Big Finish
I
here.
think he's still finding his feet really, because he's still. I think he's probably pitching it up a little bit too high to sound young, whereas I think now he's at a happy medium now. I feel.
Yeah, there's some, as he goes on, you can hear him relax a bit more in
Mm,
the role and not sort of try to force the youthful nature once he's just playing it as himself, you know, as an older man. Funnily enough, the voice then sounds more relaxed, more almost younger again,
yes.
or you're not sort of oddly distracted by a slightly weird twinge to his voice, I suppose.
Mm,
Yeah, it's always funny when you go back to some of these earlier Tom Baker big finishes and suddenly you hear how different he is now. And sometimes as well, when you get to really later stuff, like in the recent series 12, one of the stories was recorded way after the others. The final story in series 12, which name is escaping me, which is why I'm going on
goes
in the
to
hopes that
Margaret.
you, Ben, will. Yes, there we go.
Goes to Margaret. There
Goes
we
to
are.
Margaret. With that story, he does sound much different again,
Mm,
almost, as his voice has aged over time. But yeah, it's always sort of a bit of a shock to the system when you go back because you're expecting it at this point.
yeah,
We've gone
yeah.
back to this a couple of times already, but still, it sort of catches you off after you listen to a recent Tom, or semi-recent, with how far in advance he records them. They're
Yes.
not always recently released ones aren't always the most recently
And
recorded
then you've
ones.
got like the Paternoster trailer where he sounds different yet again because it's the most, I guess, the most recent recording
Yeah, one of the
of
most
him.
recent, I imagine.
Yeah. But it's still it's lovely that he's still doing them at the age of 90, and that's
Yeah,
long may
it's
it continue,
amazing.
really.
I hope so, because no matter how he sounds, it's always Tom Baker. It's always
Yes.
wonderful. But yeah, circling back now to the original point we were making there.
Mm,
Uh, it is wonderful what Big Finish has been able to do with so many different characters up to this point, really fleshing them out and their dynamics with their doctors and the doctors themselves as well, particularly Colin Baker's doctor. And so here going into, you know, this concept that was always very striking to me on TV with Leela as a character and really running with that even more and seeing where they can take it because a lot of the stories on TV weren't necessarily driven by her character.
it's
She was
surface level,
included
isn't
in
it?
there, but yeah. And at times there's almost a regression with her character because, there's no clear arc plan there. With something like this, the Doctor educating a companion, you sort of need that you know, development to be visible on screen. You need the character to grow. And that certainly happened towards the start. I think probably helped by Chris Boucher writing her first two stories, and then Robert Holmes, who was very familiar with her as the script editor at that point, coming in after that. I think it's maybe by oddly enough, Image of Defendal, despite being written by Boucher again, she feels about character to me. An Invisible Enemy. I think it's around there. There's sort of the consistency with the character growth sort of seems to slip away really. So Big Finish are able to dive in here and make the most of that concept like they often did and still do.
Mm,
And I think that's what's really wonderful about Series 3 of the Fourth Doctor Adventures is how it is very much built around the characters of the Fourth Doctor and Leela.
mm. I mean, it's more than, hey, it's another Fourth Doctor and Leela adventure, isn't it? Compared to what we've had
Mm.
in later seasons where that's sort of been lost and it's, business as usual. Whereas this is more of a dissection of that dynamic and what
Yeah,
makes them tick.
Oh, definitely. And I think also you get more out of these stories if you do listen to them in order. I think later ones you can't just jump in at any old order.
Yeah.
Series 3, despite each story being standalone, there's no overarching plot in the sense of any villains or anything or storylines beyond the characters themselves. You do get a lot more out of it if you listen to it in order and go on this journey with the Fourth Doctor and Leela.
It is. It's
But
it's a character arc, isn't it? More than your Bad Wolf and your Vote Saxon.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, the story that kicks it off, the one we're here to talk about, King of Sontar, it's a bloody great romp, isn't it?
It's so good. It's got a lot of action, straight from the word go. But it has so many wonderful character moments between Leela and Velhal towards the end.
Yeah,
So beautiful.
they are two great characters. Another Sontaran there. But again, a slightly different one from usual. Not necessarily genetically speaking, but character-wise. And yeah, you've also got Rosato here, played by the late David Collings. And he's wonderful. It's sort of a reunion from Robots of Death, with him playing Paul on TV alongside Tom Baker and Louise Jameson. But here he gets to play a misguided scientist, I suppose. And yeah, some great characters throughout this. And yeah, just for a two-parter, everything falls into place very well. The pacing is very strong. It gets to explore all the concepts it wants to without dragging.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like any of them are glossed over either. I think everything's built up suitably to give it the threat or gravitas that it deserves, resulting in a very strong and moving conclusion. Yeah. So I mean, overall, just really love the King of Sontar.
Yeah.
I mean, partially nostalgia. You've heard what we said at the start about the story.
Yeah.
It's always going to have that rose-tinted look back for us. But I don't think that means it's not as good as we think it is.
No.
I think there's a reason that, we love it so much beyond just the nostalgia. It was genuinely a great place for me to start, and one of the places you started as well.
Yeah, I think it was my second story from that. I started with The Crooked Man, then I got King of Sontar.
Oh, okay. You went a bit out of order there.
Yeah, and then I went back and did White Ghosts.
Okay. Yeah, but King of Sontar, brilliant stuff, really. Just, what are you waiting? Go get it. Go pick it up.
Sadly, it better than The Eternal Battle, another Fourth Doctor Sontaran story?
I think it is, but I do like The Eternal Battle as well.
See, I disagree. I would say Eternal Battle's the better of the two.
Well, there we go. Yeah, I have to say, you're not going to go far wrong with either of those.
No.
Or, pick up both of them. They're only two-parters.
They're quick and easy listens, great fun. But yeah, if you want to get in the mood for season 15, this is the one, because it has a reason why Leela doesn't quite recognize the Sontarans.
Yes, because in that story, when they turn up at the end of part 4, Leela asks the Doctor, "Who are these people?" And yet, wait, hasn't she met them before on audio? Well, no, there is a reason in the story itself. You got to pay attention for it, though. Yeah. It's not obviously spelled out, and I think it's quite an amusing reason.
Yes, yeah,
it makes sense.
So, should we rate it?
I'm gonna go at 9 out of 10.
I go for an 8.5, I think.
There we go. Yeah, I just love it.
Yeah,
I just have such a good time.
It's comfy. It's a comfy listen, isn't it? It's meat and potatoes Doctor Who,
but delivered in a different way to usual.
Yeah.
Was that a potato pun there?
Quite possibly.
Where's the meat? What's the meat? What is the meat?
Where are the cakes?
We know what the potatoes are.
It's probably sort of
now.
bits of blown up Sontar assassination squad, I guess.
Oh dear. Uh, I mean, sadly, not available on CD anymore from bigfinish.com. It is out print. I'm sure you can find it other places. Might
Hmm.
be a bit pricier than usual. Might not be. To be
Yeah.
fair, I've not looked, but is available for 8.99 on download. And I'm sure a sale will roll around sooner or later that will reduce that to probably about a fiver. So,
Yeah.
if you see it there, definitely pick it up. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah,
I
so
hope you
thank you,
like it.
Bob. Yeah, he loves it. Well,
There we go.
he's being positive for once. Amazing.
Oh, the pigs are
Oh,
flying.
pigs are flying. Thank you everyone for watching this review. We'll be back for more Big Finish related content, whether that be news, reviews, and
Recipes.
recipes on Sontaran cupcakes. You name it, we've got it here. So please like and subscribe for plenty more Big Finish content. Thank you, and bye bye.
See you, everyone.